under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What the hell is going on, everybody? God damn it, it's good to be back for a little post-match recap because god damn it, the Tottenham Hotspur, they just seem to pull rabbits out of their ass just when, just on the heels of two really disgusting losses. All of a sudden they bounce back against Bodo Glimt 3-1 in the first leg of the Europa League semifinal. And it was funny after I got off with Derma, right? I sent a little message over to Drew, and I said, "Hey, Drew, what are you doing in about an hour?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm coming on to talk about this game with you." I was like, "Damn right you are."
All right.
How the hell is it going, Drew?
I'm doing all right, man. I got off early from work. I drove home. I may have broken a couple of speed laws, but yeah, I popped on to Irish Hotspur on the pre-game, then watched the game, then been on another channel on Spotlight on Spurs. Now I'm here, man. I'm soaking it up, man. It doesn't happen very often, right? And fair play to Paramount Plus, because they have been kind enough to actually already have the replay available. So I've actually even got that on in the background while we talk, just because, like I say, you don't get this very often. So if I can see these boys just win over and over and over again, I'll do it. I'm here for it.
I hear you. Turning our attention to the chat room, we have Nearsighted Remembrance. That's actually a pretty cool name. 3-1 Night Ideal. Bodo will take that. And if they score first, it's open for the Spurs. I don't know about that, but cool. Then we have a Harmless Potato, man. Big up, man. Koiz.
What up, Potato?
That's awesome, man.
What up?
Dude, I'm a big fan of potatoes. And again,
I never met a potato I didn't like.
That's exactly what I'm saying. All right, so interesting matchup. I don't listen, coming into this one, I was a little skeptical because Bodo Glimt just seems to be one of those teams that if you're going off of past Europe performances when it comes to this Tottenham Hotspur, Pochettino era, the Mourinho era, the Conte era. We just seem to lose to these type of teams where, on paper, the talent is stacked in our deck. But tonight, I'll tell you what, man, that was not the case. 50 seconds into the less than 50 seconds into the match, Pedro Porro puts a cross into the box, which is headed towards Brennan Johnson by Richarlison. And of course, Brennan Johnson puts it away. So first and foremost, we're going to start right there. Obviously an ideal start, but it had to be the relegation merchant Brendan Johnson kicking things off for us tonight, Drew. And I guess that's kind of apropos, just considering the level of talent that Bodo Glimt has on that back line. So of course it was Brendan Johnson.
And surprisingly, the Richarlison that I was kind of mulling over in my head that might start the game with Solanke. Do you know what? I thought about calling it a couple of times this morning in some chats and at work, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And then lo and behold, the lineup comes out and he's playing, and the header back, he's just a presence in the box. He's a nuisance. And yeah, Brendan Johnson getting on the end of it. The one thing I will say is that I almost feel like we maybe scored a little too soon. Like, and I know, and the reason why I say that is because, and I know it's always a good time to score, but it almost felt like we scored so quickly that we then subconsciously got a little bit worried for a few minutes that we already had something more to lose than we typically do. So it was kind of weird. There was like this euphoria of like, oh.
Like, I can't believe what we just did. Wait, hold on. Like we're almost beside ourselves, because I don't think we've scored 30 seconds into a game all season. So 100%.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly been a minute, and certainly been a minute since we started quickly. So I think it was almost like they didn't have a chance to get themselves into a rhythm, and then they got the goal, and then they kind of stepped off for a minute, and then kind of found their way back again. I mean, I'm not as it was a very promising first half. I actually think the first half was better than the second, kind of by a country mile. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get into the nitty gritty of the game. But yeah, happy for Brendan Johnson. He shows up, continues to show up at the right time. He was mentioned to me in a chat with Jack Konecki and the Irish Hotspur. Big up, Jack. And he said that he wanted to drop Brendan Johnson, and I could understand why. But then I also made the point that you take the name Brendan Johnson away and you change that to, so you're going to drop your top scorer. And it just becomes a little bit more logical that would start over Odeber and Tell. And, I mean, if he's having a real stinker, he probably gets hooked at half time. But I think he kind of put in a shift. He did all right.
Yeah. So speaking of that lineup, my first thoughts when that came out, listen, I didn't hear about the Lucas Bergvall news until midday today. And it actually came after the lineup came out. And so I was a little puzzled by Yves Bissouma's inclusion into the starting 11. I wasn't surprised to see Brendan Johnson in that attacking front three, but I was a little surprised to see Richarlison starting on the left-hand side when Matisse Tell has proven, I think he's proven everyone that he's more than capable of handling it. And I actually think that the combination between and the familiarity between Matisse Tell and Destiny Udogie has actually started to improve a little bit over the course of the last couple matches. And so I thought it would just kind of be a slam dunk no-brainer. That being said, as this team matriculated through the first half, and after they kind of got over the instant shock of, holy shit, we just scored 30 seconds into the game, as this thing was progressing, Bodo Glimt actually possessed a lot of the possession in the first half. They just didn't really do much with that, credit Spurs midfield. And I guess to a little bit Yves Bissouma, but that being said, defensively, they pretty much shut down every avenue of Bodo Glimt as they were trying to move the ball up the pitch. But that being said, right before half, it was Pedro Porro again, this time with a 60-yard dime right on the foot of James Maddison, who made a cheeky little move to his right. Bang, balls in the back of the net, and all of a sudden Spurs go into the half with a 2-0 lead. I'll just say it. I actually think this might have been Brendan Johnson's best overall performance of the season for Spurs. Biggest game of the year. He actually showed up quite nice today. It was actually nice seeing James Maddison lead this team for once. It almost felt like they were taking the attack was taking cues from James Maddison today. I don't know, man. I thought he did well pulling the strings today. I don't know how you felt about James Maddison. I thought the goal was just a cherry on top. And the reason why I felt this way is as soon as James Maddison was taken off the pitch, Spurs all of a sudden started looking sluggish as hell down the stretch. So I don't know, man. Your thoughts on matters today, man?
Yeah, I think for sure Maddison was pulling the strings. He was up for it tonight. You could tell. And yeah, it's a shame he felt something had to go off. Hopefully, touch wood, it's nothing too serious. Um, I I thought Johnson did good, put in a good shift. I think Richarlison is he's something different when he's pressing the ball. He cuts off avenues of where the ball can go and restricts whoever he's up against to basically, well, you've got to go that way because I'm not letting you go this way. And I think his 1-2 sort of, it was almost like a double pivot. You had Bentancur, Basuma holding down the midfield, and then you had Richarlison and Solanke kind of just sort of bullying the defenders. And I know this wasn't the strongest Bodo side. They were having obviously had their injuries, and I think they had suspension. I was still surprised at how well they held up and that they were still willing to press and that we still had to play through them. And there were some uncomfortable moments. Like, it's not like this was a stellar performance under the lights. We got the job done.
Correct.
But I think overall, I think you got the selection right. I don't think Richarlison was ever going to get more than 45 minutes. I'm hearing that it was tactical. I've listened to Ange afterwards, and Richarlison was tactical. The other two are slight knocks. They felt something, but hopefully they should be fine. I got to, I was going for 4-0 all week. If you'd have given me 3-1 before a game kicked off, I would have bitten your hand off. Given how this season's gone, I'd have taken it all day long, mate. All day long.
I actually predicted a 2-1 just because I have not been confident in this team's attack and their ability to put more than 2 goals on the board, as we've seen in recent weeks. Like even against Eintracht Frankfurt, it was a very shaky performance over 2 legs, but they got the job done. Like, we haven't seen that outside of Southampton, whose defensive backline is absolutely dreadful, and they hung 4 on them. Outside of that, this team has not given me much confidence. But that being said, 3 goals is absolutely brilliant. But to your point about Richarlison, my biggest issue is when he's played out wide, it mutes his strengths. I saw him get his back pocket picked a couple times. I didn't think his 1 and 2s with Udogie actually looked clean. And when he's at his best is when he's running forward, and if you can play him on. And James Maddison actually hit him on a dime as he was running up that left side, but for whatever reason, it didn't look like he had much pace behind him, and he ended up having that ball knocked out for a corner at that point in time before he had an opportunity to put it in the box. I was not, and I didn't think that was his best performance. As a matter of, again, I actually thought Matisse Tell probably would have been better starting in that position. You're playing him. For the ability to have Romero or Van de Ven play one in, and almost having him having him being like that secondary striker, almost like that fox in the box type of player. It didn't necessarily work out that way. And of course, at half, he was pulled for Matisse Tell. And I actually thought, the progression down the left side actually improved when Tell came on versus what we saw in the first half. But that being said, as this game progressed into the second half, Christian Romero finds himself in the box. He gets hacked down. It goes to VAR, and all of a sudden we get a penalty. Dom Solanke cashes in for his second goal in as many Europa League contests, and now all of a sudden it's 3-0. At that point, when this thing was up 3-0, were you expecting more? What was at that point? I mean, everything was just going batshit crazy in the stadium. And I was looking at it like, damn, hopefully we can hang 5 on these dudes.
Yeah, I feel like the Maddison injury was a bit of a gut punch. And then also when Solanke got his knock, I don't think they were too far apart. And I think I think there was a little bit of kind of feeding off of that. And that's why everything kind of slowed down a bit. And I get, to your point, I get what you're saying about Richarlison. I think what I appreciated about him was, number one, I still think he gave Bodo more to think about as a secondary striker or another striker on the field that they didn't think that they were really going to have to think about. And as I say, just from a pressing point of view, there were so many times that he was forcing the right back in field as opposed to giving him an outlet onto the wing. But I completely agree. I mean, still, still clunky, still not, not ideal, and no, by far not his best performance. But then I think, look at his season. It's been riddled with injury. I can't remember the last time he played 90 minutes. Can't remember the last time he played 70. So I think, he did all right for 45 minutes. But yeah, I like Tell, and he offers something, obviously something a lot different. And I think he's arguably got that kind of blissful, youthful, don't really give two hoots. Like, I'm just going to go and do it. But everything seemed to, as soon as you got Solanke off and you've got Richarlison off, and then you're putting Tell down the middle, and it's not his. It just kind of all seemed to go a little bit flat, and unfortunately, it's just our luck,
Yeah,
we throw a couple of good punches, and then we get a couple back on the chin. So it just would be the way that our two players that were doing very, very well pull up with knocks.
Well, and to that point, James Madison takes a slight knock and he's taken off. Dejan Kulusevski, who's my healthy Tottenham man crush, comes on, and he's still working his way back into match sharpness, trying to get it. What I was encouraged by him is he was actually taking chances this time around. He was left 1v1, and I think he tried to get on his left foot, which just deflected out. He had another shot a little bit later. I think it was in the 95th or 96th minute where he was trying to pull a smooth spin move in the box on his right foot, and that went wide. So, I mean, there's encouraging signs from Kulusevski, but I guess you can say the gung-ho swashbuckling 10 that he was facilitating on the right-hand side next to James Madison when he was actually at his peak this year, taking chances of running into the box. That's just not there yet. And as a result, with no James Madison pulling the strings, that part of the pitch became a little flat. Dom Solanke takes a small little knock. He comes out. Wilson Odobert comes in, forcing Matisse Tell to the top. And all of a sudden, the danger, the goal danger Tottenham side that we saw for 70 minutes just seemed to radically disappear. And it was at that point that Bodo Glimt just got numbers forward and just started pressing and getting numbers forward to a point where they get one back in what looked like a deflection. Now, they say the deflection came off Betancourt, but it looked like it came off Van de Ven. When that shot was from the shooter's back, from Salt, whatever his name is, Saltmas or Saltma. It looked like the ball ricocheted off of Van de Ven's shin, but that being said, it also looked like it deflected off of Betancourt. Regardless, the ball goes in, and the three goal lead that we had established now gets cut to 2, and then all of a sudden for the rest of the match, there just seemed to be that nervous energy in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Everybody's wondering whether they're going to concede again. Luckily, they didn't. But that being said, though, match, overall, I thought this was a great performance. Now, granted, we didn't play quote unquote Tottenham Hotspur football because if that was the case, we probably would have led in possession as well too. But we actually had more touches in the box than Bodo. We did more with the ball when we actually had the ball. We took chances, but we were also finishing our chances, which is something that was a shock. Which was a shock to me, considering that we, for the larger part of the season, Drew, we have wasted a lot of chances, not taking enough or not finishing our meal. Today we had 3 quality opportunities to move the ball in the back of the net, and that's I guess that's as much as you could ask for this team. Considering that this league has been essentially this team has been awash in the league. They put all their eggs in this basket, and it's nice that in front of a crowd with the buzz and the energy behind them today with the tifo, it was nice that they were able to reward these fans with a comfortable win.
Yeah, and I think the fans obviously did. They've had so much terrible football in that stadium. The last, the last thing you need is for them to capitulate at home for Bodo. But Bodo stuck to their game plan. I will absolutely give them that. They soaked up as much as they could, and then when they saw that we were on the ropes, they tried to give us a couple of punches. And as I say, one of them got through. I think we started for the second half. We started really slowly. I
100%.
think they were there. I think they were there for the taking. I think we missed a bit of a trick. I think if we'd have come out a bit smarter, I think there's a chance we maybe could have, put a couple more past them before they really knew what was going on. And then the next 25, 30 minutes becomes a whole different story. But the game pans out as it pans out. It was still solid performance. I mean, other than that, even when they did put the pressure on, did they have anything resembling it's not like they had a hat load of chances. And then the chance that they do get, it's a wicked deflection. I thought it was Bentancur. Either way, like you say, it's a deflection. I thought Vicario could have done a bit better because I don't think the shot wasn't a screamer by any means. And I think he went down a tad bit early. But,
you think he was out of position? So you think he was completely out of position to even make a save on that play?
I think he was in the right position. I just don't think the shot warranted him getting down as quickly as he could. I actually think that corner was more than covered, which is why I don't know why he went down as quick as he did. Because as soon as he did, when it does get deflected, there's no chance of him recovering from anything going over the top of him. And I just, it didn't look like, it wasn't a bullet, it wasn't a trickler. But from the replays that I've seen, I think he would have backed himself more because he didn't have to get down. I guess my argument is he didn't need to get down so low because I think he would have got it with an outstretched arm pretty easily. So it's not like he had to be completely prone to make the save. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I thought he could have done better. But overall, I genuinely can't be too mad. Udogie, I think, had a great game. Couple of chances at the end where the overlap was good. The final ball wasn't. There was an Odeberg, I think, opportunity. Odeberg was in the middle once he got away, and if he'd have squared the ball or just put it on the penalty spot, that's probably 4. But yeah, I can't be mad. The two people that I get most critical about, Bentancur and Bissouma, I don't really have anything to be too critical about.
I don't know, man. I thought Bentancur got a little wild there in the middle of the match. There was a couple times where he got burned and retaliated. Took a couple dumb whistles, conceding possession. I don't know, man. Like that's the thing with Bissouma. You're gonna get what you're gonna get out of him. And granted, the fact that he hasn't really played a lot recently, there's also a sharpness issue as well too. Don't get me wrong. Now here's the crazy thing about Bissouma though. In isolated moments, I actually thought he was pretty good. Like there were a couple times there in the second half, early in the second half, where Bodo was trying to pump balls forward, and Bissouma was, Bissouma's positioning was actually pretty excellent to recover and wipe out a couple of Bodo attacks. So like I don't want to completely say that he was useless, but that being said, like there were a few times where he actually did pretty well. But that being said, overall, you still have some of the carelessness. And I also thought, like in the mid, when Bodo was trying, especially in the first half, when Bodo was trying to build up through the mid, there were a couple times where he was just completely outgunned and just completely played through. So I don't know, man. I just don't think that. Granted, you would rather have Bergvall, but that being said, I think Spurs actually had another option, and whether or not that was starting Kulusevski for the first 45 next to Maddison with Bentancur playing the 6. I don't know. Maybe for me at least, that probably would have been a better route. But that being said, I can't argue with the result. I do want to ask you this question though. Now that this one is settled, and now we have next Thursday. Actually, let me back this up. Bodo Glimt actually caught me off guard because I was expecting them to play in a low block. I was expecting, because the return leg is at home, if they can minimize damage and keep it within shouting distance, they can throw the kitchen sink at Spurs in the second leg. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I was thinking. I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be a test for the Spurs attack. Can they finally solve the riddle of a low block? And we didn't necessarily get that. Yeah, I thought we executed the way that we were supposed to execute: play wide, ping balls into the box, and and stretch the back line, which I thought we did. I thought we did well. But that one kind of took me by surprise, because now down to, you're definitely going to expect them to throw the kitchen sink on their home pitch. And now we have to, for at least a good portion, I don't know if Ange is going to start this week, or if he's going to start it early next week. But now all of a sudden, now we have to prepare for a plastic pitch 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle, in an environment that nobody likes to go to. Lazio didn't like going there. Roma didn't like going there. There were no team desires to go 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle to play a game of football. And I think and that to me, when they scored their one, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh shit. You know what I mean? At 3-0, it gives you some sense of comfort, but now it's 3-1, and now all they need is 2. And you would probably expect that they're going to come out gunning, like 2 guns blazing, a week from now. And it's like, we have to play for 1 goal now. In 90 minutes, can we get 1? 1 probably doesn't. But that being said, it's like, they're not going to be parking the bus at home. They're going to come out, they're coming out, guns a-blazing. I don't know, man. That one, I don't know, man. In the moment, I got terrified.
We've got to be thankful that they don't count for any more than, just a scored goal anymore, because there would have been a time where all they had to do was, score 2, keep it at 2-0, draw 3-3, and we're going home. So at least there's not that on the cards, which I'm thankful for. But there is one thing to be said for, yes, they have to come at us. Yes, they probably will come at us. But if we can play it clever, and we can do another Frankfurt, and we can keep really solid at the back, other than Liverpool, who seem to have our number, and I think, who else was it? Fulham. I think, isn't it still the 1 goal? The 1 goal thing still, I think, holds true. Or maybe Wolves as well, probably. Yeah, Wolves a few weeks ago. Oh, yeah, and maybe Nottingham Forest. Well, yeah, maybe that's out of the water, and I'm clutching at straws. Yeah, the more I think about it. But I don't know, for the most part, when they're on it, this back 5 are pretty solid.
The best. Yeah, they're one of the best in England.
Right. So so I would just like to think, I would hope that we've just got enough on the night. We've got enough against Bodo, with all due respect, with the best will in the world. I think if we can play sensible and we can catch him on the break, I think there's no reason why we can't nick one. My argument would be, we can't bank on continually that being the thing that gets us out of trouble, because if they are feeling it and they are up for it and they start peppering us because they've got their central midfielder back that does all of their free kicks and set pieces, and they start firing and we're 2-0 down real quick, we can't, I could just, I don't even want to think about it. I want to think that we're Tottenham Hotspur and we've got too much for them. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's really going to depend on. It's going to depend on the fitness of players, because if Maddison, if it's just a knock and he's fine, and Solanke, it's just a knock and he's fine, and Kulusevski gets some more minutes in his legs and he doesn't look like a tanker trying to turn. Because there's a couple of instances today, he got in a couple of good positions and played awful final balls.
I know.
Just straight into the man when I think he had a clear line of sight to the near post. Oh,
I can't do it to him, man. That's my guy. Like, yeah, you're right though. Of course, you're right. But that being said, man, I can't do it to my boy. But that
I
being
feel you.
said, though, you're absolutely right. Right, tonight reinforces what I've always thought about our back five. It's that we have one of the better back fives in England,
Yeah.
not just on paper. And listen, this season notwithstanding, right? Because when you're without your center back pairing for 4 months of the season, and you're always having to chop and change, and now all of a sudden they get back to some sense of normalcy. And in the league, it doesn't necessarily reflect that because obviously, Ange Postecoglou is going to wrap those dudes in bubble wrap and, you know, put them away against an opponent like Liverpool. But that being said, it's like when they have these performances, it just reinforces to you just exactly the talent level that they possess because they do come good when they need to come good. It sucks that they don't do that every single game. I understand the reasoning why because this is the last competition in which they can win a trophy. So obviously they're gunning for it, and I appreciate that. But you would like to be reminded more in the league that they're capable of shutting down some of the bigger names. Which was kind of a disappointment that they couldn't shut down Nottingham Forest, but it is what it is. I digress about that. But one of the things that I will say is I know, and I don't know, Drew, if you were privy to the Irish Hotspur conversation with Sean and Johnny, and the notion that because Christian Romero came out and said what he said, that all of a sudden he's like a disgrace to the badge, and it's like, well, hold on a second. Did you see what he did tonight? Right, not just defensively, but also in the buildup. He finds himself in advantageous positions where he can draw a penalty. You know what I mean? Like that third goal was built on the back of Christian Romero and his IQ and his awareness on the pitch to know exactly if he's going to if he goes up for a challenge, there's a good chance that he's going to come down with a whistle. And that's exactly what happened. And I just look at a game like this tonight and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, yeah, it's one thing to sell Richarlison and it's another thing to sell Yves Bissouma. But when you have a center back pairing and you have fullbacks, you have talented fullbacks to the likes of what we have and a pretty solid keeper, you kind of want to keep that shit around for like the next 4 years. Like you're going to try to do whatever you can to make sure that you're not just getting rid of your best players. That continuing cycle of training away some of your best players. You kind of want to keep a rock solid back five because tonight, if anything, tonight proved was that these like building a team around these five is going to win you trophies.
If
he's like
VDV, I mean, if VDV can give us more games, I would say yeah. I've been on record. I'm on the fence with Romero in that if the guy has heart-shaped eyes for another club and genuinely doesn't want to be here and cannot be persuaded that this is a project to be a part of, then you need to cash in. But I am in no way pushing the guy out the club. I think he has just a tenaciousness about him. Obviously, the Argentinian thing, which I absolutely love. He has laser-like passing at times, which is able to break the lines like not many others can do. His reading of the game is fantastic. He's, if we were putting slightly better balls, I think there's a chance he gets on the end of more of them from a corner and free kick perspective because he tends to even get, he gets on some, but I think he could get on more if we had a bit more precision in that. Yeah.
Tonight in the second half, he got onto one, and it barely missed. Just
whistled past the post. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I know Sean love him to bits. I know he's been hypercritical of him, and I understand it because, and I think that comes from because the context as well of part of that conversation was, yes, I mean to your point. what he did on the field tonight was fantastic for the badge. His wherewithal, knowing, just positional play. But then a counter argument to that could be know where you are and what you're saying when you decide in an interview at the Tottenham Hotspur training grounds that you're making heart-shaped eyes for a club that you're not under contract with. And I know, that again, that could then be taken out of context as well. But, given where we are as a club and the situation this season, nerves are very, very short. And these players, this manager, this boardroom do not have much more rope to hang themselves with. And that's across the board. Like, this is a big old pizza. Everyone gets a slice of the blame. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone individually, but everyone's rope's getting a little shorter. And that includes Romero. But no, I mean, tonight, fantastic. And I hope, I'm with you. You can win something with a very, very solid back five. And this lot, the more they play together, the more solid they'll become. I think even now, Romero, Van der Ven, because of injuries, suspensions, have only played something like 45, 50 Premier League games together, which is nothing by comparison to them lot up the road. Because I think Saliba and Gabriel have played almost 150, 180 or something ridiculous. Right. So, it's one of those things. Do we have the patience? Does Romero have the patience? Can we convince him? Because the one thing I will tell you is we get to this summer and it's another couple of 18-year-olds and the 32-year-old backup goalkeeper. He's not sticking around.
Well, I will say that he's got 2 more years left on his deal, so we don't have to sell him this summer at all. We can still have him for another year while all that does is make his transfer value continue to climb. But what I will say is this, though, right? And I've seen this so many goddamn times through. The funny thing about athletes is they're a dime a dozen, and it's all the same shit year after year after year. I know quite a bit of athletes, and I can tell you that their motivation is always one thing: money. That's it.
Money.
Yes, yeah. Championships matter, right? But that being said, for players of the caliber of a guy like Romero, where he's going to get top 10 center back money regardless of where he's going to go. Like, if he stays here and we pay him, he's going to make that money. If he goes to Madrid, either Atletico or Real, he's going to make that money. He goes to Barca, he's going to make wherever in the world he's going to make that money. Right. He's at this point where he's 26, but he also wants to see ambition because he does see his prime years closing. Right. He's got about maybe 3, maybe 4 more years of top level football, and he's starting to question whether or not that's going to happen here or not. Right. So, that being said, Spurs have the cash. They do. And if it's an issue of money, this is all leverage. That's what I think this is all is. I think it's all leverage, right? I think he wants to kind of be the first to break that 200K a week threshold. If me personally, you would like to see that going to a goal scorer. But that being said, if you have a rock like a dude like Romero, I don't have a problem paying him. But that being said, it also comes with ambition. And so that, to me, this is like a make or break summer, right? Because you don't have to sell him. You can show him.
And I was just looking at his age because he's 27. So I mean, honestly, you probably got 6 or 7 years, like five prime years. I mean, if he looks after himself, 5 prime years, maybe a couple of tail enders. I mean, he's for the most part looked after himself in terms of injury. This season seems to have been a bit of an anomaly.
I do agree, though. I do agree with you that that if it's another summer of like Joe Bellingham and that dude from Sunderland,
right,
who's actually a really good player, but if it's like 19, 20-year-olds coming in and Fraser Forrester, I 100% agree with you. That's not going to last. All right, but that being said, Drew, as we look forward to Bodo Glimt next week, and the question that was asked to me today is pertaining to our captain.
Okay.
Son Heung-min. Sonny for all you laymen out there. That's his name. The rumor is that he probably should be ready come that second leg. And so the question I have for you is: this a situation where Sonny comes right back into the starting 11? Is this something where he comes in the 60th minute, that type of thing? If there's a possibility that he could be available Sunday versus West Ham, does he get some minutes there? What is the plan for the captain in regards to the second leg? And if it's not, then obviously it's working back to the final. But
no.
Knock on wood if we get there. But right. That being said, what in your mind, where are we at with the captain?
My plan for him would probably be, if he's fit and available, you need to give him some minutes in his legs. So I would at least look to give him. If he can't do it, I have a pretty strict rule, and I'm thinking it's not just my rule. I think it's like a blanket unwritten rule that if you can't make 45 minutes, you don't start a game, because unless tactically everything's gone wrong, you don't hook a player in the first half. It just doesn't happen. So if he hasn't got 45 minutes in him, at least he's not going to start. I would expect that if he does, then he would. If he doesn't, then I would like to see him maybe get at least 30 minutes to prove that he's got some fitness in him. And then based on that, decide whether or not it's worth playing him in the second leg. With the way that we play, or with the way that I think tactically we need to set up against them away, I just don't know. I don't want to be unfair on Sonny. I just don't know that it suits him anymore, because he's just seemed to look a little bit laboured when he's run into space this year. I don't know. On the counter, if we're going to play a counter attack, I just think tell Odeberg, Johnson, tell any one of those three as a combination in a counter attack is going to work better than Sonny. But you can't discount Sonny's finishing. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. He's also the captain, so I'm sure if he's got it in him, man, just going to play him. I don't think he drops Sonny.
Right. Yeah. I would like it. It depends on what the plan is this weekend. If he's going to be ready for the match day, squad, that's probably where I give him 30 minutes in the second half, or maybe that's kind of like to give him his first minutes, right? Because there's a good chance that Sonny probably could go 45, but coming back from an injury, and the way that Ange Postecoglou has used certain players when they're coming back, especially outfield players, not necessarily defenders, but generally that's the way it's gone, where their first game back, they usually come off the bench at the 65 minute mark, just to get their lungs back, just to get their legs back. And it's the game after where you actually start seeing starts. So I guess it all depends on what's going to happen at West Ham. But to your point, I personally believe that what you said actually makes the most sense as far as how this team is going to set up, being a little bit more compact defensively, understanding what Bodo Glimt is going to try to do to you, and just be far more aggressive on the counterattack. First, look to defend, and we do have film on this, because we did that in the first leg against Liverpool in the League Cup. If you remember that first leg where we beat them 1-0, we were absolutely resolute. 2 lines of 4, rock solid in the back, and we popped out and hit them on the counter. And it would have been 2 if they didn't whistle Dom Solanke offside.
No.
And
I think we posted up pretty good away at Frankfurt as well. That was very solid, and we created a decent amount of chances. So we know we can do it.
It's just it's going to be whether or not we can weather the first 20 minutes of that storm. Outside of those first 20 minutes, if we can hold on for that first 20 minutes, I have no problem believing that they're going to be able to use their width and use their speed on the counterattack 150%. And I guess that's going to be the question, right? whether or not Sonny fits into that game plan. Because we've seen that a few times this season where Sonny was played on the counter, only to be tracked down within the last 5 yards as he was approaching the 18, where he tried to cut in to try to play to try to make a pass, only to get that ball picked, or he would transfer it to his left foot and try to put one on net and have that ball deflected out for a corner, right? So there has been a lot of instances where Sonny even trying to play himself into space just has not necessarily worked out. So if that's the case, if he's not involved in the match day against West Ham, I don't know, man. I don't know if Ange wants to take that risk 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle in Bodo.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. All right. So Andy Ang 135, who's got the sweetest picture next to a name. It's Run VDV. Yeah. By the way, awesome. I'm stealing that. By the way, I'm just letting you know, Andy Ang.
Brilliant.
He says 3-1 still enough. Going up north, playing on that pitch, not sure, but Chelsea outscored their opponent on the same surface. We should be confident, right?
Yeah, somewhat. We said that about Tamworth, didn't we? I don't want to bring up or harp on about that. We do have one of those pitches at Spurs Way, so we should be able to train on it and get an idea. You know what
didn't
I mean?
we beat Tamworth? Didn't we beat them 3-0?
Yeah, people forget that, right? The one thing I will say is the bounce. I have noticed the bounce is really different, isn't it? It's like a more...
Yep.
It's odd, and you did see them struggle with that. My main concern, always with a plastic pitch more so, is the give under your feet and the issue that it can pose potentially with hamstrings, given how frequently our lot tend to pull those. So I just want us to get, I just want unscathed, man. I will take, if it ends up being, God forbid it goes to penalties, I couldn't take the nerves of that. But if it's by 1 goal, we end up going down 3-2, but we go through, 5-4 or something like that. I mean, it is what it is. You'd love one of those things with these sorts of trips, especially like you say, Arctic Circle vibes this time of year, which, it could be worse. It could be a lot colder. You just get up there, you do the business, and you get out. Many a club have tried to go up there and do something and failed. So we wouldn't be the first. So you just got to be really, really smart, really sensible, hold your own, and just, don't just do your job for 90 minutes. Like really, really simple stuff,
Mm-hmm. So I guess
we don't need to go chasing. We don't need to go chasing. That's I don't know. Some people might say, you might maybe want to be in that position. I think going up there, being strong, and then having to break us down. I don't know, man. I'd rather be in this position than being 2-1, 2-2 down, and them shutting up shop and us having to break them down, because we don't do that very well.
Not at all. My only question when it comes to this, to the plastic pitch, is whether or not it's FIFA regulation size, meaning it has the width. Like if it's the same dimensions as the pitch at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, just turf. I think I'd be okay with that, because as you know, and you should know this because you're here in the States, there are a few Major League Soccer teams that play on synthetic turf, mainly my team, Seattle. And you're absolutely right. The ball bounces like it's actually on AstroTurf. It feels like, it feels like the bounce is a little higher. So it takes used to adjusting. The ball moves quicker on the pitch. So passes that, weighted passes that you would normally have that fine touch for will actually move a little quicker. The reason why I asked that is because if this is more of a narrow pitch, this plays right into Bodo. Because we like to play wide. Like that's the whole nexus of Ange Ball's playing wide, and opening up their back line. And so if that's not an option, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how we're going to be able to adjust and make it work for us. because generally speaking, on narrow pitches, all teams have to do is just crowd the middle, crowd the middle, and try to force them out to the flanks. So let's now that that's being said, let's go. I want to.
It's 9 meters narrower than the Spurs. Ours is 74.5 and theirs is 65.
So how many feet is that in meters? 9 meters equals how many feet? Yeah, I know. That's right. I'm an American. I don't use the metric system.
65.
What's up, man? Standard. What's up?
What up?
What's
so
up?
213 feet versus
9 meters is 213 feet.
Yeah, 213 feet versus 242. So
that's
30.
That's sizable. That's a sizable chunk right there.
Yeah, 25, 30 feet.
25, 30 feet that you're not going to have the luxury of. And I'm just racking my brain to figure out how Spurs are going to be able to adjust not having the width. Right. So that's going to be an interesting dichotomy to see exactly how Edge is going to dial this one up. But since we've talked about Bodo Glimt, we have to talk about the other semifinal, because this one's actually going to be a barn burner. Now, Drew, you know me a little bit, and you know how much I'm a Nico Williams guy. I think he's one of the best left wings on the planet. And we know that because every time he wears the Spain shirt, he seems to come good for his country. We saw what he did last year in the Euros. Let me just tell you, like there's two young kids two young Spanish kids that are going to be Ronaldo Messi. Like one of them is Nico Williams, the other one's Yamin Lamal. That being said, I thought Bilbao was just a better team than Manchester United. On paper, in reality,
that's what I was led to believe.
And yet Harry Maguire is dumbing Athletic Club Bilbao. I just don't understand it. So first and foremost, your thoughts on Manchester United's first leg against Bilbao. I don't know, man. I don't even know what to make of it. We here in the chat, we have the nearsighted remembrance who says, I can't believe how Manchester United keeps scamming wins. They have had a red against their last 4 opponents. Lyon, Bournemouth, and 2 other opponents in Europe. 4 red cards against their opponents, scamming their way to the final. Is this, by the way, is this a Premier League conspiracy to have Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United in a final? Is this a conspiracy?
I mean, it does say, it says something about the quality. I mean, does it? This is the thing, right? On the one hand, I'm like, this says something about the quality of the Premier League. And then I'm like, does it say something about the quality, or does it say something about the lack of quality in Europe? Because I think this is a completely different competition, obviously, because there wasn't any drop down from the Champions League. So typically, I mean, I would have to go back and check, but I would probably, without even looking right now, I'd put $5 on the fact that over the last 10, 15 years, most of the teams, more teams that have won the Europa League came from the Champions League than didn't. If I'm wrong, then I'll be happy to eat my words. I might go and check that out later on or tomorrow if I've got time.
I'm sure somebody in the chat will get onto that one.
Yeah, I just think I thought I really wanted United because I was looking at the Williams brothers, especially Nico, and thinking to myself, these guys are going to haze us. And I thought they were going to haze United. I genuinely thought that United were in for it, because the one thing I will say, I've really not been impressed with Patrick Dorgu. I think he's looked suspect since he's arrived. He's had flashes, but he's nowhere near what I thought would be Premier League ready. So I thought that they would bully and target him like Spanish teams from the Basque Country do, isn't it? Because I
Right.
think they're from they're
They are.
and yeah,
They are definitely from the Basque.
I genuinely thought they would have too much for him, especially at home.
Yeah, a little Spanish
and
block.
I need to. I'm going to sit and watch the game afterwards because I need to see what happened. Because if I watch that game and I see Manchester United get absolutely run rugged off that pitch, and yet somehow Harry Maguire's managed to pull something out of his butt and cross a ball from the byline like I never thought he could do, and then something's ricocheted off of somebody's nut, and then something else. Like if they've just managed to blag this win, like I'm just I cannot be convinced until I see it myself. Maybe this just says something about my hatred for United, but I need to sit here and watch. I need to sit here and watch that they've done it and that they haven't, as Nearsighted Remembrance points out, they haven't just absolutely blagged their way all the way to this 3-0 win. But yeah, we'll see. It'd be interesting.
Right. So before I respond, we have Andy Yang in the chat who says, "Play the Swedes. They were brought up playing on the hybrid plastic surfaces." Yeah, definitely play the Swedes. If Lucas Bergvall, if Bergvall is available, 100%. The play pouch says, neither of you are Derna. I think that might. I don't know. I don't listen. So here's the thing, man. We're pals. We're compadres, man. So sometimes sometimes I ask and he says, "Cool, do your thing." Tequila asks, "Have I kidnapped him?" And then he says, "If so, I will pay his ransom in Jaffa cakes. That's my final offer." That's actually pretty.
In England, they're just called Jaffa cakes, like the orange.
Jaffa cakes. Yeah, okay. I thought it was like some Spanish cake,
right?
Like where the J is a Y. Jaffa.
Yeah. No, Jaffa orange.
Jaffa orange. You know what's good is the chocolate orange. The
Terry's.
Terry's chocolate orange. There you go.
Yeah, that's boy. It. All day long.
All day long. All right. So Manchester United, they've been absolutely horrible this season. Under Ten Hag, they were bad. When Ruben Amorim came in, they were bad. In league form, they're equally just as bad as us. But yet in Europa League, it's something a little bit different. You can't tell me that all of a sudden a bad Manchester United. Like, I understand that somebody can say, "Well, yeah, Tottenham." I understand that, right? But you can't tell me that a bunch of pieces that don't fit Ruben Amorim's style of play, except for Bruno Fernandes. That's the only dude that fits, because that dude can fit anywhere. All of a sudden, a team with a bunch of square pegs in a round hole, who can't play their way out of a box in the league, and all of a sudden comes to life in Europa League. And that's the thing. It's like two nearsighted remembrances point. 4 straight red cards against their opponent. By the way, that was some bullshit with Olympic Lyon. In that second leg at Old Trafford, that was some bullshit. That red card,
really?
That essentially let him erase a 2-goal lead in the 90th minute. Yeah,
that's funny.
So is there a conspiracy? I don't know. I don't know. Is it just the level of quality? Maybe.
I just think every team. Every team has the potential to be Spursy, right? Every team has the potential to be Spursy. I can't pass too much of a judgment. I need to watch this game. It could be it could just be that it was too much for them on the night. I mean, I don't even really know much about the club. I mean, it might be a young team. Maybe they just the arse just fell out of them on the night. Like I say, Manchester United just could have got real lucky, and then all of a sudden, Athletic are chasing the game, and then they get caught on the counter, and then they're chasing it even more because they're like, "We're at home, we should be winning this." Like, what's going on? Everyone melts down, and then Maguire does a Messi, and I just like everyone's just like, what is happening? Is this a parallel universe? So
And what
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But like
and
I agree with you. Like it can't just be on the one hand you say there's no way that all of these squared pieces all of a sudden turn into triangles and fit in these holes. But then on the other, there's no way they can just pull things out of their arse. It's been so bad in the league. And then we look at ourselves in the mirror, and you exactly pointed it out before you said I started this ramble. You can point to Tottenham and say
you
exactly the
can't
same
it's just
thing.
fun. You
It's
can
been
say the exact same thing.
absolutely horrendous in the league, and yet somehow the last couple of 3 games in Europe, we've really actually kind of done it's not been 90 minutes of wonderful football, but we've had moments of being able to just get it done.
At least our pieces fit the system. They just quit on the league. That's
Right.
like the difference is like we were injured forever. They came back and realized that the league was dusted, and they just quit.
Well, they are also shocking at home. So there's nothing to be said that they don't get it up them, and Athletic pop them a couple early doors. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it's very unlikely, but stranger things have happened in this game that we love. If Athletic walk away 4-0, I mean, I'll just be, I don't know, craziest season in the world.
Nico Williams scoring all 4. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
or a little double. Nico and his brother, 2 each.
Yeah, the Williams brothers. All right, before we call this a night, let's go over player ratings. I'm curious about how you graded out this Tottenham team tonight against Bodo Glimt, and then also give me your man of the match. And we'll start and goal with Mr. Guillermo Vicario. What did you give him?
Are we doing numbers, or you just want a general overview? Numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I really genuinely think he should have done better with the goal. I give him 6.5.
6.5. I had him at a 7 because I thought like there's no difference between 6.5 or 7. If 6 is average, 7 is like, it's not like world class. It's not fantastic. It's good. It's not great.
Do you know what? I will actually. There was a point where there was a little bit of a second half. Player got through, shot over the bar, and he went absolutely apeshit. Everybody. So do you know what? Remembering that right now, showing some leadership at the end. I will give him. Yeah, I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7. I'll match you. He deserves the extra 0.5.
Yeah. The only reason why I didn't rate him higher is because he never really had to make that quintessential save. Right. You know what I mean? Right. He didn't have those. He didn't have those. And the one opportunity that he did off the deflection, I think you're actually kind of right. Maybe his position was a little off. But that being said, for the most part, in the first half, didn't have much to do, and then really in the second half, didn't really have much to do. So I just think without that quintessential save, it's a 7. It was good, not great. Destiny Udoshi.
8. I think he was very good. He worked really hard, got to the byline. It would be a 9 if he'd have added a bit more potency to the final ball. But I think defensively, not a lot got past him. I think it was solid.
Yeah. I have him as an 8 as well too, and I think the reason why it's not a 9 is because he didn't necessarily have a good left winger there to play 1s and 2s on the overlap. It almost felt like when he was played on, it almost felt like he had to create his own opportunity to get to the byline. But that being said, when you look at his hustle rate, tracking back and getting back on defense, that dude was brilliant. And again, I know this has been kind of a crappy season for him. Didn't have a training camp, and then got hurt for the most of the season. So now he's just rounding into form right now at the right time. Next year, I really do believe that next year with a full training camp and just with a little rest, I actually think that we're going to start seeing the top end of Destiny Udoshi's game. But I thought tonight was kind of brilliant. Mikey Van de Ven.
Nothing outstanding. 7 probably. There was one moment where they got through and he mopped it up really cleanly. I mean, I guess the one thing I can say is you didn't really hear much from him, so he was obviously neat and tidy. He did what he had to do. So I'd go 7.
Same thing, 7. And what's funny is, watching some of his footage tonight, I noticed that his ability to get forward with the ball at his feet is just uncanny. He's just brilliant. But some of his passes weren't crisp tonight.
Right.
There were a couple passes that ended up getting picked off. Where usually an on point Van de Ven doesn't happen to Van de Ven. But again, defensively he was solid. Maybe a little question on that goal from Bodo Glimt. Maybe there might be some question marks, but I still thought it was above average. Christian Romero.
8, strong 8, almost a 9. Put himself about defensively, won the penalty, put himself about offensively, almost had a goal, could have almost had 2. The only downside was the yellow card, but then also having seen it, is it a little bit silly? Are you always going to get penalised for putting your hand in someone's chest? Probably. I can see his argument. It's a bit weak, but then also I still kind of like it. It still shows that he's got something about him, and he's ready to fight for it. And he looked pissed when the ball went in for the goal. So I don't know, man. Maybe there's enough zeros to turn him yet. We shall see. But yeah, strong 8. Would have been a 9, potentially man of the match if he'd have scored.
Yep, I have him at an 8.5. Just not just because of his play building out of the back, his ability to get forward or his passing. That dude just seems to be in the right places at the right time. This seems like it's the 4th straight game that he's gotten his head on the end of at the end of a cross, only just to see it, just to go wide right or right left. That lets you know that he's finally getting himself in good places to be goal dangerous, and that's the part of the game that since he's been back that we have not been seeing, and now we're seeing it. But the ability just to draw the penalty was just a stroke of brilliance. So I give him an 8.5. Pedro Porro.
He might be a 9. He might be my man of the match.
He's my man. I think he's going to be my man of the match too.
I think he was really, really solid. Even a couple of big diagonal balls that they tried to put over him, he ended up getting up and got his head to them. Obviously, created one goal, put the ball in for Richie to head back to Johnson for the other. Just a couple of his corners could have been a tad bit better, but I mean, overall, I think he was really, really good. And not like an answered the critics kind of thing, but doing all the things that we want him to do as a right back. Really strong, really good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Pedro Porro's corner that caught Romero, right? So I think it was Pedro Porro that was on the corner that found Romero. It seems that when Pedro Porro is taking crosses, I think he's a lot more accurate than James Maddison is on the other side. What I will say is that I have him 100% at a 9, possibly even a 9.5, because from the opening whistle, Pedro Porro was dangerous. Even though that they were forcing the ball down the left-hand side, whenever they did go right, they always found the foot of Pedro Porro. You talk about that goal that Brendan Johnson started. It doesn't happen without a Pedro Porro cross in that finds Richarlison. And then, of course, the second goal, which was just an absolute dime. That dude pinged it 60 yards down the field, only to hit James Maddison on the top of his dick. You know what I mean? Like, that's how accurate that on a button. So at the end of the day, it's like, when you look at his ability, and again, the same thing that we were talking about with Romero early can be applied to Pedro Porro. Like, when he turns up, he reminds you of just exactly how fucking good that dude is. And I thought he was brilliant defensively as well too. And that's with a lazy Brendan Johnson playing in front of him. So 100% like a 9. I think he's a 9.5. Turning our attention to the midfield, it's Yves Bissouma.
I'll go 7. He was sloppy with a couple of the shots that he made. I think there was one shot that he bogeyed and one shot that he got an eagle. Like ridiculous, like just a bit all over the place. But that being said, made some really tidy tackles when he needed to, broke up the play. was really unfortunate with a free kick that they got, where he clearly got his boot to the ball and then the player kicked him. Um, I'm very critical of Basuma. I think we all are. We're all kind of thinking he's probably done. I said before the game, if he put in a Manchester United type performance where he was busy all over the place and did what he needed to do, that would be all right. And he kind of did it. So I give him a 7. He wasn't amazing, but he's solid.
I give him a 6.5 because I think he was just a touch above average. And again, it's not for me to shit on Yves Bissouma, but that being said, I thought he was erratic. I thought he was erratic in his defense, especially when Bodo was trying to play through the middle. He was absolutely burned a few times, which actually led to one just horrible tackle that he made. But that being said, even when they were on the attack, it didn't seem like he was able to strike the ball clean. One went 50 feet above the crossbar. The other one, I think, went wide. One went into the shoes of a defender. I don't know, man. Like, compared to his last 3 appearances that we've seen him, this was night and day better than any of those. But still, though, it wasn't above average.
Right.
Let's turn to Rodrigo Betancourt. Rodri.
I think he's probably another 7. Again, I think he did well. I think he did a job that he needed to do. I think there was a little bit more of a sort of double pivot to the play, which I think they're both a bit more comfortable in. He didn't do. I mean, yeah, he was a bit sloppy, and I know what you mean when he kind of sort of huffed and puffed a bit for a minute in there. But there were times where I think he helped the game to tick over. And I think maybe him getting a little bit lost coincided with the Maddison injury. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. But I mean, he wasn't. I'm. You know me, and everyone knows me. I'm hypercritical of Bentancur. So if I think he had a 7, maybe he had a 9. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, nothing. I can think back and go, oh, Bentancur, because there's times when I can look back over a game and remember 4 or 5 times where I out loud was like, fucking Bentancur. So yeah, he was all right.
Well, what's interesting is I don't like to have Thought Mob sway my opinion, but they have him rated as an 8.2, and I can understand why, because it almost seemed like he was Johnny on the spot in the passing lanes. Like I think I counted like 3 different times where he cut passing lanes and ended up getting the ball. I thought he was good as a hold up midfielder, making correct passes. He was a little dangerous a couple times with his passes. But that being said, it was almost like Mikey Van de Ven a little bit, where it was like you didn't necessarily hear or see a lot of him, but when you did, he just seemed to make the right play. The only difference with Rodrigo Betancourt tonight was the fact that he didn't necessarily have the same scoring opportunities in the box as we saw in the last couple performances, where it seemed like the last 3 performances he had a couple chances, and either one ringed off the crossbar or one went wide. He just didn't have that tonight, but I thought he was pretty solid. I think I'm with you. I think it's like a 7.5, somewhere in that area. I thought he was pretty solid. James Maddison.
I'd go 8. I think he was busy. I think he took his goal really well. I mean, he was a bit lucky that it went in the ground and bobbled over the guy's leg, but you know, he looked like he was up for it as soon as it got going, and that's what you need from Maddison. He has to be that player. Because he's another one, and I think this is unfortunately the squad. When they play really well, there's some 8s, 9s, and even the odd 10 sprinkled in. But when they're bad, these guys can be 3s and 4s, and he's one of them where his consistency sometimes can just be, or because, and this is not his fault, but because the team around him is so disjointed, he has a hard time. He has a hard time getting into the flow of it, you know? I don't want to go so far as to say he's an absolute luxury player, but he works best. And this is probably true with every player to a certain extent, but he really, really works his best when everybody else is kind of on their game, because there's only so much he can do. He can put the ball on a plate, he can read it, But if people aren't making those runs, and if people aren't seeing what he's seeing, then he constantly has to turn back on himself and lay it off. And I can understand why somebody with his amount of, gumption and sort of, I don't even necessarily say creativity. I mean, he does have that, but just the pick up the ball, the go, the turn, the pop, like he wants to do it, and his brain's half a second quicker than everybody else's. And I see him sometimes turn around and be like, "You're not where I need you to be. Get to where I need you to be." So but yeah, I thought for every effort that he had today, or all of his effort, he was a good 8, and hopefully it's nothing too bad, because when he's on it, he really makes us tick.
So what you're saying is he would be awesome in the Liverpool squad. Is that what you're saying? Because that team has no problem making the runs.
Yeah, no, you're very true. Very true.
I'm just messing around. I give him an 8 as well too. Maybe even a tick a little higher. If James Maddison consistently had these type of performances, there would be no question he would be a shoo-in for the England squad. He has that type of upper level talent, and I do happen to agree with you. But tonight was something different. It seemed to me that there were players on the pitch that were taking their cues from James Maddison, even when he had to drop deep a couple times to make a possession, to keep possession. He was still able to put players in the right position for passes. But also, he's feeling it when he's scoring goals. You know what I mean? Like when he's feeling dangerous, he's not afraid to make that run. And tonight, that goal was just a beautiful run. He was camped in a channel and made a beautiful timed run, and was able to get on the end of a beautiful pass. It's like, these are the type of performances where when you're looking for your leaders and they show up good, like these are the type of performances that you want to see from James Maddison game in and game out. But that being said, it was nice seeing James Maddison be a leader tonight. That was the one thing that has been so mind numbing when it comes to his game. It's where he just disappears. Tonight was not that night, Drew. I thought James Maddison had a beautiful display today. I thought everything was clicking for him, and he gets an 8. Turning our attention to the wingers now, and Drew, who is doing Drew things. And there's Drew. He just dropped off. All right. Well, we'll finish this off, and hopefully we'll have Drew back. Yeah. Okay. So he's having a technical issue. There he is. There's Drew. And we're back.
What is going on?
Oh yeah. Oh, can you hear me now?
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. All right. So turning our attention to the wingers, and we'll start on the left-hand side with Richarlison. Your player rating for Richie.
I'm gonna go with a 7, and let's not do halves. I'll go with a 7 again. I think he did good with his pressing. Gave them more to think about than I think they thought they were going to have to think about. Obviously, set up the goal for Johnson. Still clunky. Still needs to, a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, he did as much as I could ask Richie to do given the circumstances. It wasn't Timo Werner. It was never going to be Sonny, unfortunately. So yeah, he was as good as it was going to get. As far as Richie goes. So I didn't have a problem with him. 7.
Man, it would have been cool if we saw Timo Werner tonight, but I am the lone standing Timo Werner fan, and I'll explain to you later. But I give Richarlison a 6 because what's funny is you mentioned that his pressing was good, but was he on the pitch for his press? or was he on the pitch to get forward and actually be dangerous, right? My whole issue was that he was not remotely dangerous. As a matter of fact, I thought he looked sloppy on his touch. I didn't think his passing was all that great. And by the way, when you have him wide to the touchline, it completely negates his entire game. I understand why he was on the pitch. I totally understand. And it was actually kind of brilliant that Ange Postecoglou felt that his way too, because you're kind of running, you're kind of like, in essence, running two high strikers, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you're going to play a lot of balls in the box, you're going to have two different guys to pick from. I totally understand, but for the most part, he was stuck out wide. It looked like he was a little tentative. He gave the ball away a few times, and then he was pulled at halftime. And I think you mentioned because it was tactical. Yeah, of course it was tactical. They wanted a better winger out there, and he was ultimately replaced by Battistel, who in his second half, especially playing the wings before Odegaard came in, I thought he was actually a little bit better. So, for the most part, if he was up top starting, chances are pretty good he probably finds the back of the net. But alas, he was out wide, and he gets a 6. Turning to Brennan Johnson.
I'm giving Brennan Johnson a 6, because as good as he was doing his tracking back thing, I still, whenever I see him, feel like I only ever see him give 70 or 80% of what he could be giving. And I just don't know whether that's because I've thought about it, and it's like not like a Berbatov language style thing. It's not. There's just something. It just seems a little bit half-assed sometimes when he's getting into position and when he's chasing and when he's tracking, blocking. There's something. I mean, credit where it's due. Finished the header great. But I'm starting to get hypercritical of him now, where I'm like, okay, well, we know you can get in positions where you need to get your goals, but I just need to see a little bit more everywhere else. And I just need to see it look like it means more, maybe, or maybe that's just a self-entitled fan thing. I don't know. There's just something was a bit off with him tonight. It's like he was like tracking back and getting in front of his man. It was like, well, I'll do this because I know I've got to do it. And it's not for the blood, sweat, and the tears of that's your job. And not only am I going to track back, I'm actually going to put a foot in, and then I'm going to knock the ball forward, and then I'm going to try and beat a man. Like, there just doesn't seem to be any of that kind of aura about him. And I get that from typical wingers. There's an aura of, right, I'm going to beat my man. I'm going to get parts. I don't know. I just want him to get a bit more stuck in, I think. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that's 6. I think he could have done a lot better with a couple of more of the balls that he had. His crossing is still dog. So
it's dog shit.
He's a 6.
I have Brendan Johnson at a 5.5, and it's that high because he scored a goal within the first 30 seconds of the game, right? So credit for the headed goal.
That's nice. Maybe I'm being generous, I guess.
No, like you saw it in the first half too, right? When you actually saw Solanke doing what Solanke does, and you even saw Richarlison getting into the press and actually trying to cut off lanes and force their center backs to play the ball centrally to get turnovers. And there on the right side was Brendan Johnson just standing there,
right,
not getting involved. He's sitting there watching his teammates hustle. And he's just kind of like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. You know what? Listen, Drew, I've seen more hustle in chess than I've seen out of from Brendan Johnson, right? And what's funny is like he was lazy tracking back, but even when they tried to play the ball forward for him to run onto it, it didn't look like he had that good first step that Brendan Johnson actually has. And then when he was he was isolated 1v1. And instead of attacking the byline, this is the quintessential Brendan Johnson thing. He'll stop and kill momentum and then play the ball back. That's Brendan Johnson. And I think there was only one time where he dared try to turn the corner and then he gets the ball blocked out for a corner.
Yeah. I think it was a couple
like,
of times where he tried to corner, tried to get a ball across, and it went out for a corner. And I suppose, if you're winning corners, then I suppose, okay, but just have a bit more about you. Like, stand your man up, take, put him on his left, go right, and swing a ball in. Like, I've seen you do it. Just do it consistently. Like, I think
you're asking. I think we're asking too much from Brennan Johnson. But also, I also think that's what made Pedro Porro very good tonight. Was he understood the assignment tonight? He knew who was playing in front of him. It's that bad performance that made Pedro Porro look like a world class right back tonight.
Maybe.
Dom Solanke.
I think this isn't going to be a particularly high one either. I mean, took the penalty well, but again, probably another a 7 because of the penalty, but pretty much it was a 6. I mean, he huffed and puffed. He did well with his pressing. I still don't know if he's the centre forward that we need. I just, don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7 as well, too, because they're going to get the work rate. But the reality is that how many times tonight did we see Dom Solanke off the press when he's actually trying to make runs forward? It almost felt like it always felt like he always was taking a run into the wrong position, which kind of highlights Dom Solanke this season for him, because there's been a lot of times where that coming off the press and he's positioning himself on the wrong side of the defender for a cross that's coming off to the left. It didn't. I don't think he did himself any favors. The one thing that I did like was in the first half when that ball was played deep to Solanke, he made the touch and then laid it off to. Was it? I don't think it was James Madison. He laid it off to Richarlison, maybe. And Richarlison put one on. I can't remember, but he actually made a nice touch and laid it off. That was the right play. It was the right play. But that being said, he did take the penalty, so he does get his second consecutive Europa League goal. So I guess that's something. He's at least scoring, and now he's actually scored in 3 straight, because he got the header at Liverpool. So maybe I don't know. Maybe there's something there. But that being said, let's get to the bench. Your grade for the bench, the entire bench that came on.
To be honest, probably, it's probably going to be a 6, and I'll tell you, it's probably because I think Kulusevski brings that, and Kulusevski brings that down. I wasn't particularly impressed with him, if I'm honest with you. Tell was the bright spot. Odegaard was kind of bright. 6. Yeah, nothing crazy. Yeah. And we conceded.
Correct. I'm giving Kulusevski himself a 10, and the rest of the bench I'm just playing. So no, you're absolutely right. It was a 6. There was a couple nice isolated moments with Matisse Tell. Right when he came on, there was a ball that was played down. He cut, created space, and put a nice ball in with Solanke flicked, which was ultimately deflected. That was nice. But yeah, that was kind of it. And you're absolutely right. We ended up conceding when the bench came on. So yeah, that was about that. You're absolutely right about that. And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou. Your ratings for Big Ange.
I'm going to say 8. You know what? I think he deserves it. I think he picked the right team. 8. I'm happy with that. I'm going with 8.
Yeah, and what's funny is coming off the Liverpool match where you already knew there was going to be heavy rotation, which we saw. I happen to agree with you. There may be a few different positions where I wouldn't have gone in a different direction. On the left side, I didn't like the Richarlison tab. But that being said, I'm fine with the rest of the squad. But not only that, I think he got the substitutions right tonight as well too. I think they came in right at the right time. Now, granted, maybe one of them was forced, James Madison with the knock. I think that might have been a precaution more than anything. Watching James Madison come off the field and Slayton come off the field, it didn't seem like they were, it didn't seem like they were that hurt. But that being said, it is precaution. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I thought he got his substitutions right tonight as well too. Ultimately, it's weird because historically, Ange Postecoglou has not been great in Europe. Like, he is not known for his prowess in European competition. But this year, it just seems that he's done more for himself in Europe than he has actually in the league or the FA Cup. But that being said, he actually has excelled this year, League Cup and then also the Europa League. So I got to give it to him. Yeah, it's an 8.
Fair play. Yep.
All right. Last but not least, man of the match.
Porro. I think he's the standout performer, to be honest with you. I think, yeah, as I say, laid on one goal. You rightly pointed out that I think it was the ball to Romero to win the penalty.
Yep.
And then obviously the ball to Richarlison, which for the assist for Johnson. So he was he was busy. Don't remember too much trouble coming down his side, which is, that's a plus, because usually once or twice a game, there's always something bad comes down his side. So yeah, I guess, there's nobody outstanding enough to be better than his performance was. I think he's pretty clear winner in my eyes.
What I love about tonight's man of the match is there was another player that actually made this a little difficult. I thought James Madison also should be considered for man of the match. I thought that performance was definitely worthy of it. But I happen to agree with you. Pedro Porro has to be the man of the match. Just the bravery of pinging balls forward, just especially especially when you consider just how the league has gone. That's over the course of the last 4 league matches. And that rotation with Jed Spence. But that being said, when it came to the biggest moments, that dude didn't shy away. I thought he was absolutely brilliant tonight. I thought his movement attacking forward was great. And I thought his ability to cover essentially that right flank from the midline all the way back was very good tonight. All right. So we are coming to the end. We have about a few minutes left, Drew, before I call it a night, because it's just been a hellaciously long day today, and I'm starting to get the sleepies. Quickly, before we let this one go, West Ham United, the vaunted Hammers, are next on the schedule for the league. Surely, this has to be a win, right? It's West Ham.
Oh, do you know, my concern is that we end up in a situation. Sorry, Adrian's just asked me to send him a link to the show, so I'm just sharing your YouTube. Hang on. I've got a feeling. Here's the thing: he's going to have to make changes, and I really, really don't want. I don't want to be in a situation where we're having to worry about players getting injured, because West Ham are more up for it than we are, and they're going full-blooded into things that we're only going half-assed into. And I just, it just scares me to death that we're going to end up in a situation where, somebody important gets injured. So for the sake of that, I guess I would make wholesale changes, but then by the same token, I don't really want to get smashed by West Ham. But then the flip side of that is also, I was on a show earlier and I did mention that I think I've almost been a little bit Americanized to it, in the fact that I just don't believe we're ever really, we're obviously safe from relegation this year, but relegation doesn't even really ever come into my thought process. This is more like a conference than a league in my mind. And we're just having a bad season with a bad record. And, 5 years from now, or even now, if I say to you 3-4 years ago, how many losses how many losses were there in 2017? How many losses were there in 2008? How many losses were there in 1994? Unless you're some sort of savant or you're really into all of that shit and you just love all getting into all of the numbers, you're not going to know that. So when somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, yeah, real bad," and you, yeah, all right, we had a bad season. All right, yeah, 20 losses. I mean, it's just,
the same way.
that's the end of the season, and then we go again. And if it's a bad season the next year, then maybe I follow a bad team. But it's going to be one and done in my mind. Like you can't wind me up. I already wind myself up. I can't believe I support this shit show sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, it is what it is. Big up, Adrian.
I know
How are you, mate?
Yep.
Big up, guys. Big up, guys. I didn't know he had a show going. We were going to do one, but
it is what it is.
Changed his mind. Well, before I got home from the game, he changed his mind. It's fantastic atmosphere there today, though. I sent you guys the videos of that, and even outside in the fan zone at the back, brilliant. It was the best I've seen it since we thrashed Arsenal 3-0 at the stadium. The atmosphere was fantastic. And on to Drew's point, there's a difference for us who are fortunate to be local or fortunate to be able to go to the games or be season ticket holders, because our suffering, I think, is a little bit more because we're paying more money we're suffering more pocket-wise. I think the pain's the same if you're a true fan. And it doesn't matter if you're in the UK or not, can get to games or not. That doesn't determine whether you're a good fan or not, because I think a lot of you guys, I just think you're fantastic because, you get up all hours to watch games when we've got the time zone to suit us, Steve. You know what I mean? So, and I will. Sure. And I've said I wouldn't renew my season ticket, but I've always had a caveat in my mind, not giving it quite the same amount of thought. I will renew it if we win this Europa League, and I think we're going to win it. And if we don't win it, I won't renew it because then I want to see what sort of investment we're going to have in the summer.
Correct.
So, which I still think we'll have about 120 mil to spend. You always get this same amount of, not just with the games, but even if we're doing well at this time of the season, you always get the same amount of. It's the same things, subjects come up all the time. One we're always linked, and we've been linked with over 100 players, and I'm just sick of putting them up now. And that's for all positions. And two, there's always a rumour about the club is now going to be sold and all that. That all coincides with it, And other staff are going, and as a fans, we're not really interested in the changes at the staff level, whether it's Vinay Venkatesham or not. Because I always joked and said, well, what position does he play? You know what I mean? So, I mean, what is that? It's like smoke and mirrors.
Adrian.
But it is. It's because that's like smoke and mirrors, though, isn't it? I mean, it's like saying that, look at us. We're changing things at the club. Well, really, but you ain't spending no money. You know what I mean? So, and I'm on the wine.
You're good. So you're coming in late, and Drew and I were just talking about our quick expectations for the weekend, but we're going to reverse it real quick because I want to hear your thoughts about tonight and just how you felt this game from the start and how it progressed all the way through. Was there anybody that stood out to you specifically, or just what was
I thought Slanky, Bentancur, Porro, and Madison were very good. I thought those four were very good. I mean, Porro with the through ball for the Madison goal, and the way he took that ball and controlled it and put. I mean, when you looked at it on a video, which I sent everyone as I do all the time, and all the press conferences of players, what they've got to say, because if you can't do it when you win, when can you do it? I actually thought he's going to go for the inside post, but he went across the goalkeeper and I think the goalkeeper was in two minds. He didn't know. And Madison's done that because he's been clever with those finishes. Remember Man City away when we won 4-0?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing again. So I was looking at it, I thought, I mean, he is a quality player, but look, people are complaining about his consistent. Look, we've been frustrated with every player in the squad, haven't we? Mm-hmm. I think Vicario was furious when on the 94th, 5th minute, they nearly got an equaliser when Doggy lost the ball, lost his marker out and then ball come in, I think, and VDV again. How many times have we seen opposing teams' runners get in front of our centre backs and get a shot off? And actually, he put it wide, didn't he? So, and was sitting on my guy next to me, we're giving us both ourselves, we're giving each other the eye because we're thinking like, shit, that was close. And I said, and it's annoying. I said, they haven't laid a glove on us. I think they had one chance in that first half, you know. And it's funny with this horseshoe football that even though you can have all the pressure, that the other team still has a certain amount of possession themselves, because that's the way the game is now. Years ago, you'd be at them for 90 minutes. Now, maybe the game's too fast for that now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but maybe the game's too fast for that. You'd be at their throats for 90 minutes, and we should have scored 5 or 6 today.
Definitely 4. Definitely 4.
What about the Bentancur shot that the goalkeeper put over the bar? That was a brilliant save, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
And then we've had the Decky swivel and turn he put wide. That was about 90.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I forgot about Bentancur's shot. He put a laser that was parried by the keeper. Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't break the goalkeeper's wrists, actually, you know. And so, and we had I forget how many shots. I did put the possession stats up and things like that up. And you've always got to check them next day in case they update them. That's the thing when you do it straight away after a game.
We had 24 shots on goal tonight.
Yeah, and I think we had 7 on target, and I think we had 20 of those were inside the box. And the ones that cannon off people, the times we got through and we hit it against the opponent, hit their legs and all that. This is the sort of luck we haven't had this season. And I was talking to the guy next to me, I said, look at these little dink passes. We're just not coming off. They're just a little bit too short or a little bit too hard. They're not coming off. Last season when we're doing that, we're putting 4 or 5 goals past teams.
Yep.
Because they're coming off. And that's where you get the fine margins in games. Someone has to lose. You know, we don't play a draw at Tottenham. People lose or win, right? So, I mean, so someone has to win or lose. And you think it's like, well, I thought it was a very good performance. But I knew, that, all right, it was disappointing to concede that goal. But you knew straight away afterwards, right, there'll be a certain section, those that are not a bit more pessimistic than me, and I'm not pessimistic at all, that they go, we lost a goal, it's heartbreaking. No, it isn't. Yeah, we won a game for a semi-final. I'll take any semi-final I'm winning it 3-1. And now we've won the last 20 home games before we lost to Ajax at home, I think, in the Champions League 1-0, because we've been in other European competitions. So I'll take that any day of the week. And to go away, I mean, reverse the maths, right? It won't happen. We could go to Bodo Glimt and lose 2-1 and we still go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not away goals. So we can go there and draw and we go through, or we can go there and win and go through. I think, I know they had like 2 or 3 of their best players out tonight, but then you're going to need them then, because I envisage the fact where Decky starts because it's an away game, you need his graft away from home. And if they're just being gentle with Sonny, I can see Sonny starting on the left. Because I thought Richarlison did some good things and some crap things today. But we seem to get a lot of joy down their left-hand side. And all right, Porro whacks across him from the right. Richarlison's a looping header. And the tapping merchant, because he can't score his head, comes in and hits into the corner, right? So I just thought, well, that's good. And the crowd were brilliant. They were brilliant. I've seen the video that Chris Cowling did actually. So, but for everyone,
it's interesting. It's interesting because I thought Richarlison actually had a not that great a performance outside of the header to Johnson. I thought he was actually quite sloppy in possession on the left-hand side. And I also think when you play a guy like Richarlison wide left hugging the touchline, that it mutes his attributes. But how about this right here? Of the 24 total shots, 20 came inside the box, along with 42 touches in the opposition box, compared to Bodo Glimt, which was only 8.
And give us the crosses again, because lately we've been putting in a few crosses.
Let's see. Crosses. Accurate crosses. Spurs had 9 accurate crosses to Bodo Glimt's 1. And we had 20 accurate long balls compared to 19 from Bodo Glimt.
Yeah. So I mean, crosses lately, I've noticed that's come. I've also noticed we've set up a bit different for corners when the ball's coming in. I'm always looking to see if there's groups of players, some to act as dummy runners or whatever, and see what's happening. See a bit of that. And even today, all right, they cleared their clearances. They cleared a lot of the back, but they struggled. I mean, we only need to be a little bit more clinical than we were today going away, and we'll spank them away as well. I mean,
I thought that
final.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I also think there's a huge discrepancy between Pedro Porro taking corners versus James Maddison taking corners. It just seems to me that Pedro Porro is a little bit more accurate, and it was no coincidence that the last 3 times Romero got his head on a corner came from Pedro Porro's side. It just seems that maybe it's just positionally that where Romero lines up, it's better for Pedro Porro. But that being said, I feel like we're far more goal dangerous on corners with Pedro Porro than James Maddison.
We've got better corner takers now because Son takes a nice corner, and so does Matisse Tell. He takes a decent corner as well.
Yeah, I think he had the last one tonight.
Yeah, and the more I see of him, the more I like. But then you're thinking, 4 league games, 2 more in this 6 league games. Is that enough time for him to show us that we're going to pay for him? Well, not so much how much we're going to pay for him, basically. Right. Now, I've seen him today, and Odobert. See a little bit of trick with Odobert. I mean, Odobert is our player. I would like to keep Tell, but only if we're not going to get stitched up on a transfer fee. It might be better, I think Drew might have suggested in the past, take him on another loan. Because if it's 5 mil for a year or something, take him on another loan, a loan to buy without an obligation. I love them deals. Try before you buy. But I don't know. I mean, like everything about our club is as clear as mud, isn't it? You're worried about, okay, transfer windows and all. There will be money there because if you sell Romero, you sell Richarlison, you sell Basuma, you sell Solomon. Gill goes for, even if it's a 5 mil, and the money for Højbjerg, the 8.5 mil, you're talking about 120 mil. And that's being conservative, right? And that's if we didn't have any money anyway. So I ain't having all this I think Levy's coy, just plays it. He does this every season. He plays it down. You ain't going to tell another team that you got a transfer budget of 250 million. You're not going to do that. And we don't need to know that transparency. What we want to know is what we want to see is the direction of travel of this club. Because this is what pisses me off with it. We're bringing lots of young players. They look good, but one other ready player in Solanke, I think he's got 13 goals now and 8 assists. Johnson scored again. I think he's now got 17 assists.
17, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even Maddison and Son. Maddison's got another goal. I haven't updated him stats in our StreamYard banners.
We've just Adrian. I guess the thing is that I mean, you reel off all those players, and I take your point with all of them, but we've just never been good at getting rid of a lot of players and then filling those gaps and buying players. Do you know? I mean, that's a lot of business that we're going to have to do.
I agree entirely.
What's interesting about it though is that as far as everyone understands that Spurs prioritize revenue and profit. All that's great. One of the things that they're not great at is turning profits on players. Spurs in the last 5 years, Spurs have ranked dead last in the Premier League when it comes from profit from player sales, and that's including the sale of Harry Kane as well too. It's just not something that they do.
Since 2019, we spent $1.027 billion on players, and net spend was it's actually 699 when I went and actually checked the full stats, but say 700 mil. So we actually got 327 million back. Well, you got a big chunk on Kane. And you can't fault Levy for getting 20 mil for Skip, 20 mil for Winks, 16 mil for Ericsson, who was leaving, right? Bergwijn went. He still went for decent money. So you got them back. But having that big clear out of players, now actually, when we're talking about getting rid of Romero, Richarlison, Basuma, Gill, Højbjerg, Solomon, You now talk suddenly we're sort of like getting a bit more money for our players than we have in the past. We're bringing a bit more. We will bring a bit more in. We look if Richarlison went for 60. Richarlison. If Romero went for 60, and Richarlison went for, if he went to Saudi, you get 50 for him. But Everton, Calvert-Lewin's going, they're going to need a striker.
Right.
Number nines, it's not a question of what we think he's worth as fans. There just aren't any number nines out there. And if you need someone, I mean, look how much we miss Solanke in the middle. He's not the best number 9 we've ever had at this club, but look how much we missed him. You need someone to be the fulcrum in there as that number 9. So someone will pay 30 million for Richarlison. So that's 90 million.
Well, yeah, but you know the scary thing is you've just in explaining what you've just explained, you've unearthed the problem in that there aren't enough forwards. So why would you then sell a half-decent forward, knowing that you're going to have to then spend more money to replace him? And do you know that replacement is going to be better? Do you know what I mean?
Which is why I think the Spurs this summer will be more geared towards the free transfer markets.
And he's not.
I just kind of feel that's gonna end up playing out that way. But hold on, real quick.
You can't get a number 9 in if you don't think Tell can do that job. Now, one of the videos I've watched him, he looks great on the left. He looks really good on the left, right? But if you can't get a number 9, well, then you keep him, because you have no other option. You keep him because today he did some good things for Richarlison. We had some joy down the left. And he also tried things on and won a few corners. And he also lost the ball a few times. And it was just, you could see just with his touch, he was a little bit rusty. He was rusty.
All right.
He hasn't nothing that's going
on. Adrian, hold up, because Drew, I know you got to go.
Yeah, pleasure as always.
Before you take off, where can fans find you on YouTube? I know you got Spurs Diehards TTID coming up. What's the rundown for this weekend?
We have got the show tomorrow. Myself, Adrian, hopefully you, if you're available. Waiting to hear back. I think Alan, Ragdos Madness, is going to be joining us. Waiting to hear back from another couple of people. But obviously, what with the night being what it was, I'm sure they're probably off having a jolly good time. But yeah, I will. We've got that coming up tomorrow. That is going to be at 10 p.m. UK time. That is 4 p.m. Central time in America. Just to obviously try and capture some other sides of the globe. And then I have 5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m. Eastern. What?
3 p.m. 3 p.m. Pacific. What? And then I'm also on. Oh, hang on. I'm also on Irish Hotspur for the pre-game on Sunday, probably. So yeah,
too.
So yeah, but sorry, gotta love you and leave you guys. Sorry, I've got to go. But yeah, help yourself, Adrian. I'll speak to you soon. Steve,
I'll see you tomorrow anyway. I'll see you tomorrow.
So,
tomorrow will be. It'll be post. Go on. Sorry.
I got to ask you this question real quick.
Go on.
I don't want this club to sell Romero at all. I think if anything tonight, what's interesting about games like tonight, it just reinforces what I've already known, that when you have a center back pairing of Van de Ven and Romero, you automatically think you think of Vertonghen and Alderweireld, but I actually think this center back pairing is better. Technically, I think they're better. I think talently they're better. And regardless of what style of football you play, they have attributes that obviously defensively they're fantastic, but they have attributes that make you even far more goal dangerous moving forward. I just think it's weird because sometimes it's hard to get a good center back pairing together where they have chemistry, but they also have that next level talent. And when you have a dude like Christian Romero, I understand Spurs fans potentially want to see him go, but it's like the dude has a World Cup in his trophy cabinet and a couple Copa Americas, and I understand that a reporter asked him a question and he answered it, and that kind of ruffled some feathers. But that being said, professional athletes are a dime a dozen. I was telling this to Drew earlier, that what they all want the same thing, which is respect, and what comes with respect is money. And if that means that Spurs have to break the 200K a week wage threshold to do it, they have the money to do it. It's like when you think about it, he's 27, he's got like what 3 to 5 more years left of prime, and Van de Ven's only 24. You know what I mean? It's like if winning trophies is a thing that Spurs want to continuously do, they can't continue getting rid of their best players. Eventually, like you have to build around this back five. I think like when I see a game tonight, it reinforces everything that I've already known, that when they come good, this back five is probably one of the best in England. And it's just like I understand like the financial situation that we're in. I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's kind of a smokescreen. But that being said, it's like I'm a little hesitant to believe that we're in a position where we're going to have to either be players with the free transfers, or we have to buy in order to sell. I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, I think it's a smokescreen.
No, I don't think we need to sell to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just because even if Romero stays, you'd still get decent money for Basuma. And I don't say he can do enough towards the end of this season to warrant him staying at this football club anyway. And apparently he's been working really hard in training. Yeah, because if you leave Spurs, even though we've had a crap season in the league, you ain't going up, because no one who's above us, really, I mean, not the top 6 clubs or 7, whatever, are going to want to take you. You may go to Brighton or Everton or Palace or something like that, but we're not staying where we are. This is a blip this season for us. Right, everything's been up in the air. The injuries. It's been a perfect storm of everything that could go wrong, really, hasn't it? So, yeah. So with Romero, I think he's one of the best centre backs I've ever seen at this football club. If I was picking my best 11 for recent years, I'd put him aside. He'd be alongside Ledley King in a back pair, right? With VDV, look, I get why fans find VDV sexy. I love the player because of his pace. Yeah. When you're really playing a high line, which we haven't, we played a high press, but not a high line recently. For months we haven't. All this myth when people want to bash hands with a baseball.
Oh, you're right.
We haven't been. When have we been parked on a highway line? Are they moan about 2 fullbacks inverting? No, Porro inverts. Porro inverts. Udogie doesn't. He may have, but he's not a regular inverter. You'll see him go down the wing on the byline, and he's been poor this season. And VDV's looked a little bit exposed at times because he's young, inexperienced. When we've played a bit deeper, because then his pace is taken out of the equation, and he's been caught. He's not the only one though. He's been caught. His positional player's been suspect at times, right? Even though I think he's a fantastic footballer, and today I think Vicario was actually really yelling at him when they nearly got that shot off. Like I think it was involved. I'd have to look at the highlights again. Romero, he is our best defender. I wouldn't say by a country mile, by a light year. And like you said, he's won a World Cup and 2 Copa Americas. When he first went in that Argentinian side, he improved them from day one.
Day one.
Now, we know when he came and he got the psycho thing. And then he's getting suspensed. Oh, he's nuts. We should sell him. Get the money, get the money, get the money. And then suddenly, we go for a period when we're a bit passive. Oh, none of our players are aggressive enough. I don't mind a yellow card. Well, you can't have it both ways, can you? I mean, I want aggression in my players. I actually think we have too many passive players in the squad.
No, I agree with you. Like tonight, Van de Ven didn't have the greatest game in my estimation. But that being said, it was against a stripped down Bodo side. The thing I love about Van de Ven is I personally believe that he's world class with the ball at his feet. I think his passing ability is next to Romero's. Both of them have that same quality. But that being said, he's also Van de Ven is also a quick center back. And he covers a lot of ground.
What I like about him, if he likes to go charging forward, which he showed today a few times, because this is what frustrates me about players when I watch the systems now, this horseshoe or horseshit football, right? Is that when you see players in space, use it. Don't pass the lazy forward ball 10 yards, right? 8 yards, when you can move that. Because if you move forward with the ball, you'll unnerve the opposition. And then your midfielder or the players to the right or left of you should push up a little bit further themselves. And then you can progress up the field. Romero, he'll try and do it. It might happen like with Romero a couple of times. It's happened when people slated him that he's gone on a galloping rampage and run upfield, and suddenly we get caught on the break. We concede a goal. Oh, where's Romero? With VDB, that hasn't happened yet because when he's gone on rampaging runs, either he's been able to get back or there's a couple of times he scored goals. You know, when he set Sonny up against Everton, wasn't it, for that goal when he went charging forward? There's a couple of times he charged forward like. And these are the fine margins when you try things, they work or not. But I like it when players try to take a risk, especially in the final third. But no, they're a good pairing. But listen, I'm not knocking Davis or Danso. I mean, even Davis, we know, is staying for another year. With Danso, you still got Dragosin, who was hit and miss, started brightly, dropped off, was good for Romania in the Euros. You could say the same with Kinski, started brightly and all that. I think Kinski would be better. I mean, like, if you could blend them two goalkeepers together, you'd have one hell of a goalkeeper, right?
So we're almost finished here tonight, Adrian. But before I go, I have to ask you this question because you are the elder statesman. You have been around for quite some time. You have seen cup winning sides. How does this run compare to the run in '84?
There's a buzz. There was a buzz today outside, even in the fan zone. I mean, there was that sort of buzz that you get when it's not quite the same as 81, 82 FA Cups or 84 in a sense that, see, once you've won the 81 Cup, you naturally think success builds on success, so you think it's going to come again, and it did. Blip in 83, then 84, you know, we beat Anderlecht over 2 legs on a penalty shootout of the lane. But you still believed that team was that good. There was more belief in the team back then than there is in this team. That's the difference. There's more belief. They knew how to get across the line. They did it in the 100th Cup final in 81. Did it again in 82. Blip in 83. Come close to winning the league as well. But remember, squads were only like 14 players back then.
Right.
We got fined. You got fined then for playing weakened teams in the league because we concentrated on the cup, but which worked for us because we won trophies. So then you come to it. So it's a different sort of generational buzz this time because prior to us winning in 81, when we went down in 76-77 season before Argentina won a cup in 78, and we got our dealers and Villa for 750 grand. There wasn't a talk in those days of world-class players because football was like very insular, depending on which country it was in, and you didn't really take much notice. There wasn't the coverage and all that. You'd hear who won the European Cup then or whatever, but they wanted to prove that they were world-class players, and you had Oddle with them and all that. And when I was watching us playing the old second division. Even the feeling around the ground was, this team is grown from being a disaster. I mean, and that's getting relegated with Hoddle and Perriman, from being a disaster to you just looked at it and you think this team's going to be something special, and they proved it, and they won 2 FA Cup. Actually, should have won more, in my opinion. But yeah, so. And you went to the ground, and even in the early FA Cup rounds in 81, there was just this buzz. There was this buzz about the place that you thought. Then you had the superstition, the year ending in a 1. 1901, we win the cup. 1921, we win the cup. 1950-51, under Afro, we win the league. 1960-61, we win the FA Cup when we beat Leicester, and we win the league. 1971, we win the League Cup. 1981, we win the FA Cup. There was always something with a year and a 1. Or when it was fun enough, I think a couple of them, it might have been a couple, it might be more, were in the Chinese Year of the Rooster as well. So that was coming into play in the media, and which was fun. Like good omens of fun, right? So yeah, I got a hint of that again today. That sort of buzz. Like I say, I've never seen it in a fan zone like that. And I thought, when we was in the League Cup and the FA Cup, them games, we would have had it then. Fair play to the club and the organisation with the flags and stuff like that, and the tifos that did that. And the club did ask everyone to wear white. If everyone was pissed off with them, they probably wouldn't have, but most of them did. I didn't. No, I was wearing grey Tottenham sweatshirt over this. Yeah, and but I think we've got this. I mean, Man United look like they've booked a ticket through with a 3-0 win because Atletico had a player sent off. I don't see them pulling 3 back. I look, Bodo Glimt have done well to get through this company as far as they're not going to. I don't even see them beating us actually out there. I really don't. I know we struggled against Tamworth on Astro pitch, but when you've got that 2-goal lead and the other team, you're going to leave gaps. And I think if Sonny is fit, if he's only that game away, a week away, he definitely. I think we're going to throw away the cup final for West Ham on Sunday because we might see Mikey Moore and a lot of others play. And can't look. And if you did that normally, the fans would be pissed off, but not with this second leg coming up Thursday week. That's not going to happen. So I was surprised with the lineup today, though. Richie on the left, Zuma playing as well. I mean, no Decky starting. I thought Decky would even start on the right wing instead of Johnson.
Yeah, I had Decky projected to start on the right.
Yeah.
I thought
Bentancur, Bergvall, Madison, before we got the Bentancur injury thing probably come out. I thought that's the way you can cater for forward. That's good, I thought, because you've got a bit still in Bentancur and Bergvall in there, the creative of Madison, and you've got the doggedness of Decky, who's very hard to get. And I thought that's what you need away. Well, if Bentancur's out next time round, you could actually see Decky, Madison, and Bentancur in midfield for that away game, which would be an experienced midfield 3. Then it would give the option Slanky will start in the middle. We don't know with Son. Makes you wonder how long he's been carrying that injury, because I actually expected to see him today before we got the rooms, before the previous press conferences. That's the problem you have when you run a podcast. You try to second guess things before you're a press conference, and you end up with egg on your face, But
Well, Adrian, I do want to thank you for stopping by. I do want to thank Drew. Tomorrow, here on Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, Till We Die, we have a show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, which would be 10 o'clock Eastern. And of course, we have Spurs Diehards TTID. That's going to be tomorrow night. What's the lineup for this upcoming weekend besides the Friday show?
Well, Sunday Ian should be doing the post-match West Ham game because it's on that day, right? So he'll do that, and then he might do a bit of a preview of Bodo Glimt Thursday away. Sure. We're definitely doing that Tuesday. I'll take the Tuesday slot because it's the hardest slot and it's the one I want to try and build. And you get it when you're competing with Champions League football and whatever. But I know it's not going to be Champions League football all the time. And the point with doing a Tuesday was that you more chance if you were doing a Monday, you'd clash with Monday Night Football, which is every week, right? Whereas European football is only so many weeks and days throughout the season. And the reason we do a Friday is because this season we're in the Europa League and the games are on a Thursday. So we can post-match the Thursday game and preview the Sunday game. The reason we do the Sundays is because it's the only one we do directly after the game, actually, on a Sunday. So we put, and they've worked pretty well. We're growing okay. If you watch that video I sent you, that might actually help you with your subscriptions. I'm not sure. I altered one thing in our Spurs Diehard studio on YouTube because and you have to do it with each video because otherwise you're not declaring, you're not botting or using AI, right? If you watch the first part. The second part, when the guy was going on about doing your playback videos, I haven't really give that too much attention at the moment. But the other tip, I thought, okay, if I've got to do that for each video, I'll do it if it helps subs, you know what I mean? But we're on your listeners now.
and where are you at social? Where are you at on social media?
Well, I've got under Adrian Stroker here. At Adrian Stroker, you can find me on XCOM. Have I got you on XCOM, Steve? Are you on XCOM?
Yeah, I am on X. Yeah,
I think we might already both have ourselves added.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll check, and if I check, I'll check.
Group when the stadium opened in 2019. That's got 14,500 members, but don't be so impressed with the numbers, because like each month recently we get about 3,000 active members a month. You've got like computer generated insights on that, which would be great if they'll come over to the YouTube and the XCOM. But like when you go for all these cities and countries, most of ours seem to be all south of the equator or weird time zones, you know. And then you don't know. Look, to be fair, I mean, like, I'm not trying to inflate the Facebook group and say it's great or that particularly fantastic, but you don't know how many of those have been banned by now, bots or clones or whatever. You know, I mean, I'm quite strict when it comes to like admitting new members into the group.
Sure.
But I've got, I think, 10 other admins on that group.
Right. I'll have to check it out, because I actually am on Facebook as well too.
And we've got a page which has got a Facebook page which has got 292 members on it. That's grown 4 members. Wow. Yeah, I know. But on the page now, because previously Facebook, when you're putting your videos out, you could put them on Facebook. Now you can't do it unless it's like on a page and you set up an event and all that. So this is why I got the page. So now that page is putting our shows out, because our shows go on XCOM, which was formerly Twitter, and they go out on the page. So that's it. I am on Instagram as well, but like, you know, we're 10 months into starting this group. We're doing all right. 1,077 subscribers.
There you go.
Well, we could have monetized months ago. I think you need like 4,000 views, hours, 4,000 hours to monetize.
Yeah.
We got 16,000 4 times, and we ain't monetized. I think you need like 1,000 subscribers to monetize. We got 1,000. I mean,
you gotta get that money, Adrian. You gotta get that money.
We're gonna leave it. Well, if I don't want to make money out of fans. I mean, if the show ended up paying for it, so I said to the guys, well, look, I said to Ian, because he's the one I talk to more than Tom or Drew, you know, and Tom or Drew got a free reign to June anyway, because when the other 2 guys went, I went like, okay, see if you like us, get round to June, and then if it's going to cost us like 440 quid or whatever, and you're willing to chuck in a quarter, you can stay. If not, you'll obviously go and do your own thing. I think they'll stay, though, because they know this group's going to be a success. Yours will be as well, Steve. I'm sure it will be. We'll try and help you kick on as well. Right.
Yeah, so, that's the beauty about the Spurs YouTube community. Everybody's awesome. So that's going to do it for us. But quickly, just to let you guys know that outside of tomorrow's videos that are going to go up, on Saturday morning Spurs on Stateside Footy, we have Dave Harris for the Irish Hotspur. He'll be stopping by, and I believe that Derma is going to be a part of that as well too. And then on Saturday night, we have the MLS Watch Along, which is going to be Inter Miami versus the New York Red Bulls. So it's going to be an opportunity to stop by, and we can talk about Leo Messi, because obviously Inter Miami. And then of course on Sunday, against West Ham, we have the pre-match build-up. We have the watch along. We also have the final score as well too. So we have Spurs covered like we do every weekend. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And I want to thank Adrian, and I definitely want to thank Drew for stopping by. Definitely check them out at Spurs Diehards TTID. It's a great show. I had the pleasure of joining them on Friday night, which is awesome. And I definitely think that, Adrian, thank you for the hospitality. It's been awesome. But that's going to do it for that.
You can be a regular. What we're trying to do with you guys in your time zone, actually, the whole idea when I suggested to Drew about coming on board, I said, well, look, you know, what we'd like to do, I said, I tried it with Chang and the Asian group, but they're like 5, 6, 7 hours in front. And for self-interest, I wanted to grow the channel, obviously, like we all do. No shame in that. And Drew said, yeah, he was keen. I said, look, you go on a lot of shows anyway. I said, it doesn't stop you doing what you want to do. And now you've got your own shows. So you're at least guaranteed to be able to say what's on your mind once a week, and then get your own guests on, people that you think are compatible or mature and sensible, as we like to be. on your show. So like, no, that's all cool. So yeah, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine for next year. Yeah,
excellent. Well, that's going to do it.
I'm sure you will be as well. And like,
I think everything is going to be lining up for the summer transfer.
I'd like to get actually in a WhatsApp group. There's mine and there's Sean's. Are you in both them groups? You're in,
I am.
All right. Okay.
I am.
Sean's now just come back because he's in a lot of trouble. I think Sean works a lot in finance, lives in been shit. But anyway, other than that, I mean, like he's back in his own group now. He's a good show to get on if you can get on there.
Yeah, maybe one day. But Adrian, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank you for stopping by. Big up to Derma, who's in the chat. I want to thank Tequila, Andy Eng. I want to thank Nearsighted Remembrance. Irwin stopped by. And we also had, that's it. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. I want to thank everybody who participated in the chat. This has been fun. Spurs do win tonight 3-1 and essentially have one foot in Bilbao with the other foot in Bodo. So it's going to be interesting. And I think the interesting storyline is going to be if we end up meeting Manchester United in the final. I think that would be very apropos to lift a European Cup while doing it against Manchester United because, well...
Yeah, we beat them 3 times this season.
Yeah, because you know what? Screw Manchester United.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you, guys. Good night.
So,
Eyes on the prize.